Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Fort Worth missing trio, the three girls that went missing. It was an unsolved case in December 1974 when three girls, Mary Rachel Trlica, I don't know how to pronounce that, Lisa Renee Wilson, and Julia Ann Moseley went missing while Christmas shopping at the Seminary South Shopping Center in Fort Worth, Texas. The car the girls were driving, a 1972 Oldsmobile 98, was left behind in the Sears parking lot at the mall. The girls have not been seen since, and you would think somebody had seen something. The oldest of the girls was Mary Rachel Trlica. She was 17 years old at the time of her disappearance. She is known to go by her middle name of Rachel. She is a Caucasian female, 5'6". She weighs 108 pounds with long brown hair, green eyes, and has a chipped upper front tooth and a small scar on her chin. She was a married high school student in Fort Worth and drove a 1972 Oldsmobile 98, the car that the girls took to the mall on the day of the disappearance. And at the time she vanished, Rachel had been married to her husband Tommy Trlica for about 6 months and wore a wedding ring. Lisa Renee Wilson was 14 years old at the time of her disappearance. She is known to go by her middle name as Renee. She is fair-skinned Caucasian female, 5'2", about 110 pounds, with light wavy brown hair, brown eyes, and has a scar on the inside of one of her thighs. Clothing she was known to be wearing when she disappeared included bluish-purple hip hugger pants, a white pullover sweatshirt with Sweet Honesty in green letters. Some have reported it as a pale yellow t-shirt with green letters, red and white Oxford shoes, and a promise ring with a clear stone. The youngest of the girls is Julie Ann Moseley, and she's only 9 years old at the time she went missing. She's a Caucasian female, 4'3" in height, 85 pounds, with shoulder-length sandy blonde hair and blue eyes. She has a small scar under her left eye, a scar in the middle of her forehead, and a scar on the back of her calf. Clothing she was known to be wearing when she disappeared, including a red shirt with dark jeans and red tennis shoes. The case shocked the Fort Worth community and left the families to adjust to life without their children. Thousands of leads have been followed, dozens of searches completed, and hundreds of people interviewed. All have proven fruitless. On the morning of December 23, 1974, a little before noon, Rachel Trlica, Renee Wilson, and Julie Ann Moseley set out to go Christmas shopping. Moseley asked to tag along at the last minute because she didn't want to spend the day alone. On being told that she would need to get permission to go, Moseley ran inside and called her mother, Rayanne, who would later recall, "I was working for an electric contractor, and my husband and I were separated. It was a bitter, bitter time. I remember that Julie called wanting to go to Seminary South. I said, 'No, you don't have any money. You just stay home.' I knew Renee and her mother, but I really didn't know Rachel. But Julie, kept whining about how she wouldn't have anybody to play with. I finally gave in, but I told her to be home by 6. The older girls, specifically Renee, wanted to be back by 4 because she had a Christmas party she wanted to attend with her new boyfriend, who had given her a promise ring that morning. She wanted plenty of time to get ready. The girls first headed to a surplus store in Fort Worth to pick up some layaway items that Renee had waiting. From there, they headed to Seminary South Shopping Center. Several witnesses had reports seeing the girls in the mall that day. When the girls did not return home, the families became concerned and traveled to Seminary South to search for them. They arrived around 6 p.m. that evening to find their car parked in the Sears parking lot. It in the upper level. It appeared the girls had made it back to the car that afternoon as the gifts they purchased were found in the car. The family stayed at the mall all night waiting for the girls to return. When the girls failed to turn up, the police were called and the case was quickly handed to the Youth Division of the Fort Worth Police Department Missing Persons Bureau. The girls were presumed to be runaways by investigators. As to prove this point, the next day, Tommy Trlica, Rachel's husband, received a letter that appeared to have been written by her. That's really suspicious that somebody would take that much time to do that. Why would they do that? I know I'm going to catch it, but we had to get away. We're going to Houston. See, in about a week, the car's in Sears Upper. See, that's suspicious. Strangely, while the addressed envelope was written in pencil, the letter itself was written in ink. Yeah, on a sheet of paper that was wider than the envelope. It was addressed to Thomas A. Trlica instead of the less formally Tommy, as Rachel called him. Rachel was written in the upper left-hand corner of the envelope. It appeared to be initially misspelled, as the L in her name was written in I in her name or something was written in lowercase e, but then it had been gone over again with the correct spelling. The postmark did not contain a city, only a blurred zip code. That appeared to be 76083. The number 3 appeared to be backward, as though it was applied by a hand-loaded stamp or a partial 8. It is assumed the zip code was meant to be either 76038, which comes from Ellisville, or 76088, which comes from Weatherford. During the subsequent decades, handwriting experts across the nation, including the FBI, have yielded inconclusive results from analyzing the letter. Despite receiving the letter, the families did not believe that it was written by Rachel. Well, duh, she didn't had a problem spelling her name, nor the girls had run away. Rayanne Moseley stated, "I know my daughter and I know those other girls, and they are not runaways." Judy Wilson's Renee mother stated, "I could have told you that night that they didn't run away because Renee wanted to go to that party, and no 9-year-old is going to run off 2 days before Christmas. Everybody knows that." Frances Langston, Rachel's mother, believed that the girls had been abducted, saying, "A lot of people may think they left with someone they knew, but I'll always think until the day I die that the girls were taken." Not willing to give in, the families continued their search by disputing missing person flyers throughout the state and contacting newspapers across the country. Eventually, tips began to come in and witnesses began to come forward. In early 1975, one young man claiming to be an acquaintance of Rachel stepped forward and claimed that he saw the 3 girls in the record department of a store inside the mall just before they disappeared. Apparently, he and Rachel saw each other and spoke briefly. The man claimed that another person appeared to be with the girls. During the same time, some women's clothes were found in Justin, but it was determined that they didn't belong to the girls. Frustrated with the police investigations, the family decided to hire a private detective named John Swain. In August 1975, Swain discovered that a 28-year-old man who had worked for a local store where Rachel had applied for a job before her disappearance was making a string of obscene phone calls in the area. It was discovered that the man was using his position to obtain information from young women who had either entered job applications or who were listed as references. 6 female job applicants had been receiving obscene phone calls. The man had once lived in the neighborhood of Rachel's parents, but moved away shortly before she married. In the end, nothing ever came of the suspect. In April 1975, Swain went to Port Lavaca with 100 volunteers to search under local bridges after receiving a tip that the girls had been killed and taken there. However, no trace of the girls were found. A year later, 3 skeletons were found in the Brazoria County by an oil dealing crew. Swain had the bones checked against x-rays and dental records of the girl, but it turned out that the bones belonged to a teenage boy, about 15 to 17 years of age, and 2 other females who were not identified as being any of the girls. In March 1976, a psychic called one of the family and told the girls would be found near an oil well. For some reason, the searchers focused in the small community of Rising Star outside of Abilene, but nothing was ever found. In 1979, Swain died following a drug overdose. His death was subsequently ruled as a suicide. Upon his death, he ordered that all of his files on the case be destroyed. Oh, that's crazy. Why would he do that? That's suspicious. That's very suspicious. In the spring of 1981, police investigators were called to a location in Brazoria County after human remains had been found in a swampy area. After a month of investigation, they discovered that the bones did not belong to the girls. In January 2001, the case was reopened and assigned to a homicide detective, Tom Bocher, who believes the girls left the mall with someone they trusted. We can say that they were at one point seen with one individual, but we believe there was more than one involved. In 2018, 2 cars were raised from Benbrook Lake because they thought to have connection to the case, but they didn't yield any results. 2018. Over the years, searchers have continued to comb through Texas brush and have explored hundreds of back roads. The families have walked creek beds and county roads and have found nothing. A store clerk came forward around the time the girls' disappearance and said that a woman told her that she had seen the girls at the mall that day, and that the woman said she saw the girls being forced into a yellow pickup truck near Buddy's grocery store at the mall. The truck was described to have lights on top of it. I mean, does anybody know who this belongs to? Is there anybody that could come forward and say whose it was? This witness, however, could never be located by police, and the story never verified. In 1981, years after the disappearance, a man said he had been in the parking lot that day and had seen a man forcing a girl into a van. The man in the van told him it was a family dispute and stay out of it. There was some witness that said that those two girls that were taken from somewhere else, what was it, Terry Riggs and Cindy Gooding or something like that, may have been taken in a van. In April 2001, Bill Hutchins, a former Fort Worth policeman and security guard at the Seminary South Sears outlet, policeman and security guard, you'd think he would know something, said he saw the three girls with a security guard on the night they disappeared. So that would be somebody else that was with him if he was posing as a security guard or if he was a security guard. See, you would think that, but why didn't he come forward sooner? I don't know, that's so strange. I don't know. And then here's the list of references for this webpage where they got the information. But you can go to Wikipedia to see this. And then we're going to look at them, and then we're going to look at some unidentified people. But here's some photos of them, and then the age. This girl was Julie Ann Moseley. She was only 9 years old. Said she was 4'3" and about 85 pounds. Light brown hair and blue eyes, and it has a description of her, and it'll tell you the same information the other, but there's the investigating agency, but it'll tell you the same information the other ones did, I'm sure. The Army Navy store to retrieve Christmas presents. They headed for Seminary South Shopping Center. There was the Oldsmobile. Somebody witness thought they got into a pickup truck. Another one said they were forced into a van. And so there's two of them. I don't know. I thought there was two of them that said they were with a security guard, though. So there might have been somebody with them in the store. And then that letter, that suspicious letter. Why would somebody bother to send a letter? I don't get that. To the husband. That's so suspicious to me. I don't know. This one says, James and Rusty believe witness reports that Rachel and Wilson were seen alive in initial days after at stores and at a gas station. They now believe both Lisa and Julie are dead. I don't know, why does it say Rachel and Wilson? Is that the last name? Okay. But they now believe that James does claim that several credible witnesses reported seeing Rachel in the Fort Worth area during the Christmas holidays. As recent as 1998, however, James and Rusty also believe that the unidentified person are maintaining efforts to keep Rachel cloistered away. They refuse to detail their evidence. It is worth noting that James began offering a $25,000 reward to any person whose information about the case leads to the arrest and the conviction of responsible parties in December 1999. James is also one of the sponsors of the web missingtrio.com, a site that offers information, news updates. It's really sad because that's got to be so frustrating not knowing and hoping one of them's alive. In 2001, In Texas, they reported that a witness came forward and told them that he had saw 3 girls inside a pickup truck with a young male security guard approximately at 11:30 p.m. on the evening of their disappearance. So isn't that 2 people that thought they saw them in a truck with a security guard, and one person thought they saw somebody with them that might have been a security guard inside? I don't know. The witness stated that the girls seemed relaxed and were in the vehicle willingly. I don't think so. I don't know. He said they were probably scared. What are they going to do? Be throwing a fit? A few days during their girls' disappearance, but the investigator failed to follow through with this lead. Authorities told reporters that they located the security guard who was identified but the witness, but the man denied the girls were in his truck. They're actively looking at 5 suspects and also utilizing DNA testing. They now believe the girls left the mall with an individual that they trusted and were harmed afterwards. Their cases remain unsolved. So, and this is Lisa Renee Wilson, Wilson, 14 years old, 5'2", 110 pounds. So, I don't know. Lisa joined her friend. Julie lived across the street from Lisa's grandmother's house, where Lisa was spending the late morning hours December. Lisa was dating Julie's older brother Terry at the time. In fact, he gave her the promise ring. The girls asked Terry to accompany them shopping, but he decided to visit a friend instead, and they allowed Julie to tag along. It had been established that Lisa wanted to arrive by 4 p.m. since she needed to prepare for the Christmas party that evening. The 3 girls departed before noon and arrived at the Army-Navy store. Then they went to the Seminary South store, and the Oldsmobile witness informed authorities that the girls were inside the mall during the day. See, and then the letter stated that they had gone to Houston that was addressed to Rachel's husband. Nobody else got a letter but Rachel's husband. That's so strange to me. I don't know, something's weird. And then there's somewhere it said that they thought that somebody that was related knew something, or somebody knew something. So, somebody was accused of knowing something. There was no city name on the postmark, only a blurry postal service. The 3 appear to be backwards. The letter was stamped Ellisville. If the numbers were 88, the letter was postmarked Weatherford. I don't know. They since found it was come from Fort Worth, I think they said. Rachel's sister Deborah claims that their childhoods had been unhappy and that she and Rachel had been frightened of their father, who is deceased. Deborah was once engaged to Thomas. Deborah was before his marriage to Rachel, but she now says the relationship was not serious. Rachel began seeing him afterwards, and the 2 were married in 1974. Rachel then moved out of the Arnold family home and lived with Thomas. Deborah had been arguing with her then boyfriend at the time Rachel and the girls disappeared, and was temporarily living with Rachel and Thomas. Both Deborah and Thomas maintained that their romantic relationship was over, and it was not uncomfortable with the 3 of them living there. And Rachel asked Deborah to go with them, but Deborah decided to stay in bed instead. And Deborah was also in the Tricia home following day when Thomas got the letter. Some members of the Moseley, Wilson, and Arnold family believes that Deborah knows more about the disappearance. And they've sent her letters, and they've tried to get her to divulge all the details she may know concerning the girls and to fully cooperate with the police and the FBI. Deborah continues to state that she knows nothing more about the case and has nothing to hide. She does admit that her brother Rusty Arnold believes she knows about the case and that she wrote the letter to Thomas, not Rachel. Deborah denies this accusation and said in January interview that she believes her sister may have been forced into slavery. Over the years, the families of the 3 missing girls have struggled to deal with the claims that the girls' bodies were in different places throughout Texas. None of these claims have panned out. So then it talks about who they hired. So I don't know. So everybody, you got to know that's a stressful situation and it's strain, and people are gonna be upset and they're gonna accuse people because they don't know what happened. They don't know. So who knows? And what do you think? And then this is Julianne Moseley, and she's 9 years old. And I looked for the unidentified, and I couldn't find a 9-year-old. And I tried to find somebody that might appear like her, just to give you a feeling of, investigators have to go through so much, and they have to figure it out. And we do this internet sleuthing, and it doesn't pan out. But because we don't have the information, we don't have the DNA, we can't check this stuff. But I found this girl in January 1st, 1984, and they went missing when? 74, so it's 10 years later. And her estimated date of death was 1983 or prior. Partial remains with soft tissue. Possible decapitation. Wow, that's horrific. 12 to 20 years old, 4'6" to 5'2", brown fine hair, only 2 inches in length. I don't know if somebody cut her hair off or if that's how long it was. She had fillings. Doesn't have her eye color. Talks about her clothing. I don't know if anybody knows if somebody that went missing, that might be this person. But that's in Texas. And then there's this unidentified person that was in Kentucky. 1984. And she was killed several months to 2 years prior, age 12 to 20, 4'8" to 5'90" to 115 pounds, brown hair color, and she had dental work completed within 4 to 5 years prior to her death. Several fillings were observed, and then it talks about her clothing. And this is an unidentified person, and it doesn't give the cause of death. But yeah. So I don't know. I can't even imagine how they do all that. And then this is Mary Rachel Trlica, and she, 17 years old, 5'6", 108 pounds. So I don't think I could find anybody that even fit her description. I don't know. But then this girl, Lisa Renee Wilson, 14 years old, 5'2", 110 pounds, and when she went missing in 1974, and this 1981 date of death 76 to 81, and partial skeleton, blunt trauma to the head, 13 to 19 years old, in Grimes County, Texas, 5'1" to 110 pounds. It said her hair was red to dark auburn. I don't know then. The victim was right-handed, had previously inhaled fractures to the ribs, breastbone, and toe area. That sounds horrific. Yeah, she had 13 fillings, so. Pink bikini, panties, ring containing replica of a $20 American gold piece with a 1904 engraving, white towel, what appeared to be mechanic's drop cloth were also found. The victim was located by a worker with the Texas Highways Department in Grimes County. She was found just south of Bull Creek Bridge. The body was inside a large plastic bag which contained a type of rag commonly used by mechanics. An investigation was launched by the Sheriff's Department and Texas Rangers, but they don't know who the girl is. So, I don't know. The killer probably needed to get rid of the body, then placed it in a bag and dumped it on the side of the road in 1981. It's pretty horrific. I thought I saw one that was near an oil field or something, but that might have been another one. So it's pretty sad. So Lisa Renee Wilson, called Renee, and it says that they've age progressed her. And let's see. Whoops. I hope I didn't click anything important on accident. My elbow just hit something. And it talks about her wanting to be home, and there's more information if you want to pause it and read it. So I think it's all the same stuff. Dan James, 1999, a man who maintains he's never received any financial compensation for his work. And he talks about the 1974 at stores and at gas station. They believe that both Lisa and Julie are deceased. So yeah, I don't know. So you can pause it and read all that. But yeah, that's really sad. 3 girls go Christmas shopping just before Christmas, right before Christmas. They're all excited. They're having fun. They can't wait till Christmas, right? The other girl that lives with them, that's the one girl's husband's ex-girlfriend or something is living with them, and she decides to stay home and doesn't want to go with them. But, you know, even if they might have, I don't know if they were doing anything or if it was a rough situation, that doesn't mean that they were involved with their murder. But the letter that was sent to him was really suspicious. I don't know. I don't understand why they sent him a letter and nobody else's family was sent a letter. That is so suspicious and strange. And then there's the people that saw him with the security guard. Then there's the people that thought somebody thought they were putting him into a van. And that was somebody that used to be a security guard. Somebody that used to be a security guard came forward. See, I would investigate him. Because he used to be a security guard somewhere. And maybe, who knows which security guard they were with. But yeah, he might have just saw something. You would think being an ex-cop he would have a good memory. But I don't know why he waited so long to come forward with the information. I don't understand. But you never know. Maybe he just thought somebody else had already come forward with it, and then maybe he thought later, well, they weren't listening, so he thought they would listen to him, and he better come forward with the information too, so that there was more than one witness, and maybe he thought they needed that information, so maybe that's why he came forward later. So, you know, you never know. You can't really judge because you don't know. But what do you think? You know, tell me what you think and what your opinion is, because I know people have opinions. And I'm a small channel, and I appreciate my viewers because I don't have a lot of them. But this is really sad and really horrific. These 3 girls went missing. And if you know anything, even though you think you think it's not, it doesn't seem like it's that important. You know, you should come forward and tell them, even though you think it's not important. Maybe it is. Maybe somebody else came forward with the same information. Maybe they didn't. But if you think it's not of any consequence, you should come forward and you should give them that information. And also these unidentified females. If you know somebody that could be one of these persons, and see, it may not look like this person because they only had partial remains and she had short hair. So they just, sometimes they say they do the reconstructions, and I don't know if they're accurate. It depends on what information they have and what they know. I used to look at the noses, and they say you can't look at the noses, and it just depends, because if somebody died a couple of days ago and they have pictures of them, sure, they can draw a good image of them. But if they don't, and it's been years, you know, or a long time, it depends on how, you know, I don't know how they come up with the pictures. But if you know, you leave me messages and let me know in the comments, because I would like to know more about it. But some people may have been reported, they try to report them as missing, and people may have thought they were a runaway, and maybe they never got reported as missing, and maybe that's where these unidentified females come from. I don't know. I don't understand why there's so many unidentified females and people don't know who they are. Does that mean that they were never reported missing? Maybe they tried to report them to the police as missing, and there's confusion, and nobody's checked to see if they were actually reported missing, and they just think they were. And they tell their families, oh, they went missing and they never showed up, but nobody ever reported them as missing. So, and this one, she just say 2 years prior, several months to 2 years prior. So if it had been days, then I would think, wow, maybe she looks just like that. But I don't know. I don't know what she looks like. So, but if you know anything about any of these, you should let them know. So, because it's so sad. You just don't even know. And this right here, you would think maybe somebody knows about this coin or something. I don't know. But anyway, I thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I just think this is so, so sad. Prayers for their family and their loved ones. And we hope they find closure, and we hope it gets solved. And if you know anything, maybe you were afraid to come forward years ago, but now you're not. You know, you should come forward. Anyway, you can remain anonymous. I'm sure you can find a way to remain anonymous. Anyway, I just want to thank you so much for tuning into my channel, and have a great day. Bye-bye.